Hi again. This video is going to cover tutorial sheets BP2D5 and BP2D6. So if you have those available while you're watching this video, it will be much clearer as to what's happening. So in this portion of the building there is some stainless steel columns. They're a special shape. We'll deal with that in the next section. Okay, but firstly we need to know where the columns are going to be placed. So usually you would create a grid of lines for the placement of columns. So that's what we're going to do just now. We try and keep everything separate in a drawing for controllability. So we're going to create a new layer. We haven't created a layer so far. They've all been here ready for us to use. So to create a new layer, you use the Layer Properties dialog. You can either click this large button here or type in LA and return. Okay, you can see the list of layers is quite extensive, but everything's been given a sensible name so you can understand its purpose. So a new layer, to create a new layer we use this icon. Okay, and we'll call this 2D grid lines. I'm going to choose a different colour for this so it stands out against the other objects in the drawing. So I'm going to choose colour number 1, which is red. When this prints out, the red will be translated to a thin black pen. More on that later. Okay, grid lines usually have a different line type. You can see some of the other layers in this list have already got different line types. Hidden, which is a dash type line. Divide, which is a big dash, small dash, and dash dot, which is a dash followed by a dot, followed by a dash, followed by a dot. So let's show you how you add a new line type to this list of ones available. You click the word continuous, and then we load a line type. Okay, the line types will generally be taken from this definitions file, AutoCAD So if it doesn't show up automatically, then you need to click on File and it will take you to where the line types files are kept. Okay, we can see the two line type files there. Okay, so we look down the list and I'm looking for a line type called Center. So we haven't used this before. So we click on the line type, and do you notice the names have a pattern to them? No ending, end with number 2, or end with X2. So whenever you're loading line types, keep them in the same type. Okay, so none of the line types here so far have got anything after the name. No X2s or 2s. So you would stick with that way of working. Otherwise it can get difficult to control the size of the line types. So I've loaded center and now pick the name center and OK, and that becomes the line type from here on. Okay, I don't need to make this layer the current layer. Okay, there's no need for me to do that just now. Okay, because I'm not really going to be drawing much with that layer, so I'll leave that as the current layer is still 2D plinth. That's okay just now. Okay, so I've got to do some offsets now in this area of the drawing. So I'm going to hold my middle mouse button so I can center it, and then zoom in a bit closer so I can see in a bit more detail. So the offsets, so O, return, and we're looking to do the horizontal ones first, so it's 2850 and return. Take this line up and click, take this line down and click. Return twice because we want to change the offset distance, and then we'll bring in this line inwards and repeat it. So the offset distance first is 6495. Okay, take this line inwards and click, return twice, and now we're changing to the standard spacing for the columns, which is 6000. Take it in once, twice, 3 times. Then press escape. Now let's get these onto our grids layer so we can see what we're dealing with. So there's only 6 lines to pick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just so we can tell what's different. And we want to put these onto layer 2D grid lines. Press escape. Now do you notice these lines look slightly different? They're a bit disturbed. If I zoom in closer, you can see the line type showing up. Okay, but when I'm back at my normal viewing distance, I can't see the dashed breaks in the line. So we use a setting called LTS. That's short for line type scale. So LTS and return, and a size of 50 will increase the size of the gaps. It's really a bit of experimentation to find out which size works. Okay, so we can see the grid much clearer now. It's a different colour and it's a different line type. It's not very tidy though. I haven't got intersections here, and these lines extend too far. So firstly, let's make this line. Let's deal with the lengths of these 2 lines. Okay, so let's offset these out the way by 3000. So O, return, 3000, return. Take this line out, take this line out, escape. Okay, now use the fillet command, so F, return, and let's join these together. Return, pick, pick, return, pick, pick, return, pick, pick. Okay, these 2 lines have done their job. This one and this one can be deleted. So that's given these a consistent length at either end of the grid. We want to do the same for the lengths of these lines. I don't want them touching the plinth there. They could be misunderstood. So we offset again, but a much smaller distance this time. It's only 500. Return, take this line up and pick, take this line down and pick. Now instead of using fillet, I'll use trim this time. So escape, TR for trim, return, pick these newest 2 lines as your cutters and return, and I can chop off the ends of the lines. The trim command allows you to do multiple objects at the same time, so I might be able to try that here. If I do a crossing window, a green window, through these objects, do you see them all snipping off as I move through them? That's a bit quicker. Escape to finish, and then delete these 2 lines, and that's us finished sheet BP 2D5. Okay, we move on to sheet BP 2D6 now. So we want to create the shape of the column to place in these positions. Okay, now the column, because it's a repeated object, it will benefit from being turned into a block, and that means that later on, if I wanted to change the shape of my column, I only need to change one of them and the rest will update to match it. Okay, so let's zoom in quite close because the columns are very small, and we're just going to draw the column near where it's needed. We don't have to actually draw it on the position. Okay, let's change layer now, and we'll go to the layer 2D column stainless. Okay, we'll use the line command. So it's L, return. Ortho is on, so we get straight lines vertically or horizontally. So start round about this position. Okay, drag to the right. Okay, and the first line you draw will be 125 millimeters long. So 125 and return. Then go up 25, left 100. Okay, zoom in a bit closer now. We can see what's happening. Up 100, across 50. down 100, left 100, down 50. This seems laborious, but actually it's a quicker way of drawing it. To the right 100, down 100. To the right again 50, up 100, to the left 100. Stop at this point. Okay, press enter to finish. Okay, let's extend this line down from this point to here. We can use the grips for that. So click on the line, click on the grip. We have our object snaps active. So we look for the end point and then press escape to get rid of the grips. Okay, we're now ready to turn this into what's called a block, which will unite the lines and make it more controllable. So the command for that is just the letter B, short for block. B return. Okay, we need to give it a name, something that's going to be recognizable. Just a number is useless. So it's usually we'll try to keep the names short, but this time we'll be a bit more explicit. So we'll call it cruciform, if I spell it right, yeah, cruciform column. Okay, I want to choose a control point, so this is also termed the pick point, and the control point will be where we started the shape, just here. Don't worry that this shows a very nasty number, it doesn't matter. It's the control point in its relative position to the rest of the shape that's important. Okay, now we want to select the objects. So grab everything, use a window, either green or blue, but then hold shift and take away this line. I don't want that line included in the shape. Press enter. We can see the object shape now that's going to be created. Okay, I don't want that to be left in that position. I'm going to ask it to delete the original lines. Okay, as long as I bring this block or this unit back into the drawing straight away, it's going to be safe. Okay, so we can click on delete, then click OK. This line's done its job. Let's delete it before we forget about it. Okay, now let's see the grid. So we want to insert a drawing now, just like we inserted all these walls. The file, the cruciform column, is inside this drawing, it's not outside. Okay, so remember the command is I and return. That gives us a dialog box. We look inside the drawing and we can see the name of the block just here. Okay, if we look at that in a different manner, if we go to insert and insert, okay, if we look down this list, we can see the objects that have been brought into this drawing so far. Okay, here's our column. Okay, it's waiting now to be positioned. Now, I've added to my object snaps. If you right click and make sure intersection is available. Okay, we look for the intersection point. So that's our first column positioned. Let's use the other command for insert instead. So I return the last block that was placed, it comes up first on the list. I want to control where the insertion point is. I don't need to make it bigger or smaller, and I don't want to rotate it. So I click OK. I've got another column at the end of my cursor. Find the intersection. It's not showing me the intersection there automatically. That's a concern. I definitely want it to go to the intersection. So this is where I can use the tab key on the keyboard, and this will look at what's happening in this area. So if I tap the tab key with maybe a half a second in between, can you see the way it's scrolling through the various object snaps? Perpendicular. When I get to intersection, that's when I use my left mouse button. Okay, press return to bring back insert, press return to use the same block name. And we're looking for intersection. So remember the tab key, intersection, return twice. It still keeps giving me perpendicular, so I keep tapping the tab key to get intersection. Okay, now we could keep on inserting here. A slicker way might be to copy the blocks. So let's use copy, which is CP, return. Pick the 4 columns that we've just placed and return. The base point can be the end of this line, the destination point, the end of this line. Press return to finish. That seemed a bit quicker than using the insert command. It did to me anyway. Okay, it's really shaping up now. We're ready to move on to the next portion.